Hello.
I need to tell you something. I have to tell you it now.
Or hello, as people used to say.
No, it's important.
Is this sensible?
God, I hope not.
You're going to open it, aren't you?
Oh, it's locked. How's a girl supposed to resist?
Pull to open.
Pull to open.
Yes, and what do you do?
Lovely fellas.
Yep.
Two of them fancied me.
Contemporary.
It's very contemporary, cutting edge.
In here, you're literally cut off from the rest of the universe.
I like it too.
What are you waiting for?
Shall we?
Here come the drums!
Dun 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 dun. Hello and welcome to Pull to Open, the only Doctor Who podcast that goes all the way through the entire television canon in random order. And today we are going into space 2025. I'm Pete Paschal.
And I'm Chris Taylor. Oh God, you ever have some days you just forget your name and God, forget my head if it wasn't attached.
Chris, behind you. There's something there.
Oh shit!
You might want to, get one of those. Tick another box off.
Yeah, I was going to say something. Do you ever have that feeling? It's like a brain fart, like a brain farting alien.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, it's
kind of like
a little weird.
You had something just really, really important to say, and then suddenly you just completely forgot it.
Tip of my tongue.
I hear you.
But yeah, I tell you what, while I'm trying to remember what I was going to say, why don't you tell us where we are in our ongoing random adventure? And how did we get here? Because I've totally forgotten.
All right. Well, let's see if my memory is intact. Previously on Pull to Open. So our recent random journey had us bouncing around different eras of the show, as always. 3 stories ago, we were at I would say, emblematic episode of the John Pertwee era. This was the first of many stories, only 2 in the televised series, but many stories returned to this planet over and over again. But this was the first. This was the Curse of Peladon.
Oh no! Yeah, we had a lot of fun recording that, and it seems you had a lot of fun listening to that, Pete. That pod's been doing hella well.
It's actually our most successful pod of the year so far, and that includes all of our hot takes on the season 2, Judy Got with season 2. So a lot of love out there, I think, for the Curse of Peladon. We'll get to more
for Alpha Centauri, I think, is what that is. Alpha Centauri, aka the 17th Doctor. Little spoiler alert for you there. Or was it the 18th after Jim the Fish? Yeah,
now
that's right. That
would have been a cliffhanger. Can you think about that? Just the single eye, Shigawa fades out. Single eye, the voice.
Well, instead of oh hello, it's oh no. Yeah,
it'd be incredible.
Call us RTD whenever you're ready.
All right, can't happen fast enough, but we did exit that story pretty quickly, jumped ahead to the Tom Baker era, and got a little multi-doctor action in an unexpected way in the Android Invasion.
Yeah, featuring a lot of weirdness, a lot of fever dream weirdness, as Doctor Who is wont to do. But yeah, it's not fever dream enough, I think, was part of our review of that.
It also has shows Tom Baker brandishing a firearm for bits of it, although he is an android, but not the last time he would in the series, now that I think about it.
Indeed, iconic.
So, and then it was time, I think, for the randomizer to go back to its comfort food, its favorite Doctor, in Peter Capaldi and his adventure from Series 8 in The Caretaker. A little bit of a break from the space adventures and a little more grounded there at Coal Hill School. Yeah,
The Caretaker, involving the Doctor taking care of something he'd forgotten, which was little Artron energy he'd been leaving around Coal Hill School over all those years. Guess he forgot to clean up after himself. But we also forgot things. I forgot things during our recording of The Caretaker, and you may remember that God, I've totally forgotten. During the Whomoji challenge, I said that I'd kind of forgotten everything about the titles of Doctor Who. All of the titles of Doctor Who fled from my head. It was like I had just seen a monster in Doctor Who history that... the name is just escaping my head right now, but I mentioned this monster. I summoned this monster. I believe also during the podcast I said the word spoilers. So it's as if we summoned... at the end of the show, we'll get there. We make requests of the randomizer. I don't think it listened to us exactly. I
never
can't
does.
remember what we asked for. It never does.
Well, once
But
or twice
does,
for me, now that I think about it.
It does listen to the rest of the show. It certainly listens to the Whomoji challenge. And then we ended up to the one episode with this monster, I believe.
That's
or so
right.
I'm told.
I know we have been rewound a little bit to the previous Doctor, to a season that we've done a couple things in, but we have a big gap in this particular Doctor, and I'm really eager to fill it in. It is, of course, from the Matt Smith era, as if you on YouTube couldn't tell. But it is the opener of Series 6, and that is episodes 1 and 2, The Impossible Astronaut and Day of the Moon.
Woohoo! Impossible and Moon in a title. That's never happened in Doctor Who history. It's definitely one of those you kind of mix up with others, I think. But what a season opener. Oh my goodness.
I kind of feel the need to clarify for the people listening on Spotify or some other podcast service what we've been looking at. Those of you on YouTube know what we got, but behind Chris is a picture of, the forgetful alien, or the alien that everyone likes to forget. It is the Silence, which of course features for the first time in the series as the bad guys in this particular two-parter.
Question: how do you spell the Silence?
Very good question. This is going to come up. We're going to come back to this because I think it is.
Are we leaving that as a spoiler, as a hanging cliffhanger?
Yeah, no. This is
right.
That's premium content, my friend. When we're clarifying on the spelling of the Silence versus the Silence, we're going to get to that. We're going to get to all of the forgetfulness. And all the stuff with Amy and pregnancy and doctors and regenerating and kids and spacesuits. It's a jam-packed episode. But first, we have to get past the part of the show where I get to strap Chris into a table deep in a cave somewhere and force feed him emojis, not of aliens that he will forget, but of emojis that represent the title of a Doctor Who episode, and he has to guess it. Yes, it's the Whomoji challenge.
Was that the sound of a rattlesnake I heard? Yeah. Oh God, I keep forgetting about the Whomoji challenge.
Okay, I get it now.
Rattlesnake, yeah.
We're forgetting everything. Okay. This is a 4 emoji deal. This is from the batch from CT Tig, who wisely put these in a review of Pull to Open on the Apple Podcast app. So we're going through them. He went to the front of the line. Way to go.
I believe I remember that's how you get to the front of the line with your Whomoji.
It is indeed. Very wise listeners will always submit Whomojis that way, although we'll take them on social media as well. You'll just have to wait until we get through these. Okay, 4 emojis, and I'm just going to go right into it.
Okay, let's do it.
All right. The first emoji is a video cassette.
Oh. Okay.
The second emoji is a spoon.
A video cassette and a spoon. Okay.
The third emoji is a service dog. And the fourth emoji is it's a cup of coffee, but it could also be a hot beverage. I'm going to paste all that in the chat.
Exactly like a cup of soup.
There it is.
Okay. Well, the spoon, of course, I'm going to Robot of Sherwood. Although not the only Doctor Who with a spoon, I know that. I'm just trying to zero in, but I'm definitely getting New Who vibes. Am I right?
You're definitely getting New Who vibes, and it is not Robot of Sherwood.
And
Good
it's
guess.
not. I was hinting that it was Day of the Doctor. Is it Day of the Doctor?
It is not Day of the Doctor.
Damn, it's not exactly like a cup of soup. Wow, the service dog is throwing me off. The video cassette is throwing me off. Where does the video cassette feature? The service dog. Something here is making me think 11th Hour?
No, not 11th Hour.
It's the time that Prisoner Zero was talking through the dog. That's
right.
where I was going with that. Video cassette totally throwing me. Perhaps you can help remind my poor forgetful brain where in New Who video
Might
cassette.
give it away, but where the video cassette, I'd be literal with that one.
the cassette of the Doctor. The VCR of the Doctor. Who doesn't remember that? Is it literal? I mean, is it Blink? You know, because they're in a DVD.
Oh, those are DVDs.
Store? Damn it!
Good guess, though.
Oh God!
Try to think of episodes in New Who that featured a video cassette.
Do you know what's throwing me off is how much of Old Who I recorded on video cassettes? So, that's all I can think of. Takes me back to the classic show. New Who video cassette. I can't remember it. I seriously can't. Maybe I should go look at the silence again and I'd have more of a clue. No.
I'll give you. This is probably going to give it away. It is.
Yeah, you say that.
It is fairly recent.
Crying out loud. I mean, video cassettes, fairly recent. Oh, is it like it's one of the Ruby Sunday things because it was.
Which is?
Yeah, is it Legend of Ruby Sunday?
It's Legend of Ruby Sunday and Empire of Death. Yeah, the service dog, Sutek.
Oh, service dog.
Yeah.
You wouldn't treat a service dog like that, though. I mean, the Doctor would lose his service dog license.
He probably would not
if he was
know.
found dragging his service dog through all
I
this
think
time.
because the emoji has a leash on it, I think that's probably what they were thinking in terms of what CT Dig was thinking, like that visual.
Yeah.
It's less about the service dog, just the dog with a leash.
And the spoon from Planet where everyone's forgetting everything and appropriate. How appropriate that we just entirely forgot that.
And then Ruby,
when I say we, I mean me.
And I think the hot drink is representative of the final scene with her mother in the coffee shop. So that's a little, bit of a curveball there.
I like it. Yeah.
But it's a lot of content.
Yeah. I appreciate that content. Good job, CT Tig. You fooled me almost entirely until Pete had to bash me over the head with a video cassette. But yeah, once again, it's like you can't really, incorporating new seasons of Doctor Who into your mental structure of Doctor Who takes a while. So I look on this as sort of this is my Duolingo for the Whomoji challenge right here.
Nice.
Video cassette.
Well, once again, you too can be featured on the Whomoji Challenge with your Whomoji. Feel free to submit those again through the Apple Podcast app or social media. And your Whomoji will live on forever in the Pull to Open Codex, which is linked in the show notes of every episode, which has every single Doctor Who episode in sequential order and has a bunch of other handy things like links to which ones we've covered and all the Whomojis, every single one that we've ever featured. So enjoy that.
All right. Awesome. Well, something else you can enjoy is not just listening to us prattle on about whatever story we're watching, but also to vote on it, to supersede us and our ratings, or agree with them. In Poll to Open, that's if you're on Spotify, go pull bottom of the screen. It's down there. Go search a little bit. I know it's early on Saturday morning, but it's right down there. Saturdays are awesome. They're full of potential. And part of the potential is that you can vote. You can make your voice heard. And we have some ratings now from the Poll to Open for the Curse of Peladon. For that very, very popular part. We have a lot of love showing through in this poll.
I would argue 100% love.
100%
actually
love.
giving these ratings.
Really, seriously, and I feel humbled. I'm standing here before you today to concede that my two ratings, my hybrid rating, the Cassandra and the Zabi, got no votes, nil point for Taylor, and instead, what is leading the pack is the Pete, your party, the Dalek party, is victorious. Please take a victory lap, Dalek party.
Dalek Empire victorious. Oh, I like that.
I never thought the Daleks would eat my face, said the head of the Daleks Eating My Face party. Anyway, they've won. Second is the Viscount Banger, which I gotta say I was almost there.
Mm-hmm.
I was
almost there too.
Yeah. I mean,
I gotta say, this is very good to see that this is a Doctor Who that has aged really well, clearly, and very well remembered. The Dalek Viscount Banger split. Honestly, we could have gone either way. I stand by my Dalek rating just because I almost feel like it's. I don't want to raise expectations too much for it, or I kind of like that it's Dalek. I like that it's very representative of what Doctor Who was, and it's just really good storytelling. That's what I just really like it as an example of textbook Doctor Who.
Yeah, it's solid. Yeah. It's textbook what you can do with 5p and a rubber band in your budget. And perhaps also acknowledging the fact that it's a bit, dated in some of its special effects, etc. Sure. But still beloved. We've got the Fixed Point in Time as the third highest rating. Fully a quarter of voters going for that one. So, yeah, fair. Good representation of Curse of Peladon. And hey, this sort of helps us get to know who our audience is, right? Who all are you? And apparently you're all Pertwee lovers.
Betcha.
Maybe you're Gatwa lovers who are converted to Pertwee lovers because he's a Pertwee lover. You did love this one. So, my goodness, it's funny, when we went to the Curse of Peladon, I was like, because I'd not seen it before. And now I'm the thought of watching Curse of Peladon, it fills me with joy.
You're getting ready to go out buy some of those colorful wigs, or maybe some of the shorts for the royalty, for the royal family there in Peladon.
I got my Halloween costume months in advance when I saw David Troughton's thighs.
Nice. Well, thanks everyone who voted in this poll. Again, all of our polls stay open for a long, long time, so you still have time to vote in the Curse of Peladon and in the story we're about to talk about. So go ahead, just jump in on Spotify. Go ahead and just launch a burner account if you don't have one, and vote in all of our podcasts. Feel free. And while you're doing that, why not download some social networks? What the hell? Rot your brain a little bit. Doom scroll with us.
Well, that's a good slogan.
Doom scroll with us.
Doom scroll with us. That's our new podcast coming soon.
The Doom Scroll, the next episode in season 3 of Doctor. I don't know. We are on all the socials. We are on TikTok and Blue Sky at Pull to Open. We're constantly uploading short videos, so please watch for those. We're also at Pull to Open 63 on Instagram, on X, and really most other places. Go ahead and reach out. We'll see your comment and your message. And we'll hang some time and have a good hang with some good Doctor Who. Let's do that. Oh, and don't forget YouTube. Everybody on YouTube, feel free to become a true companion for a small monthly donation. You will not just get a whole batch of emoji that others won't have. You will also get the podcast early, up to a week early, which is pretty cool, I think. So go ahead and go for that.
Cool. That is very cool. And if you're on Spotify, I'm just going to cover up the face of the thing over my shoulder for a second to talk to you folks watching us on Spotify. Just down at the bottom of the show notes, there's a link. You can throw us a donation, 99 cents, $5, $10, however many cups of coffee you think it's worth to listen to this fantastic podcast. And now you can resume forgetting.
Good suggestion, so to speak. All right,
Indeed.
sir.
All right.
It's time to pivot. Time to pivot in content.
Yep. Time to go straight to our commentary on the Impossible Astronaut Day of the Moon, which we jump right into, right, Pete?
We always do that. Yep.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
we might have forgotten something, though. Hold on. Let me
What?
look away from you for a sec. Oh, yes. Nice
No, no.
try, Mr. Taylor. No, I see right through it. I'm encased in my dwarf star alloy prison here, and I know that you need to summarize the story that we are about to talk about in record time. We allot a full minute for every episode of the new series, which means since this is a two-parter, you get a full 2 minutes. It's almost like you're doing a four-parter of the classic series here.
I really, really think, however, that there should be a Stephen Moffat rule for the TLDW. By the way, did we call it the TLDW? Did we say it's called the TLDW?
We haven't yet. No, we're forgetting so much.
Oh God, forget our heads. Yeah. So for TLDW, I feel like there's so much plot in a Moffat that you kind of need a little Moffat bonus,
especially for this very ambitious series / season that he jumped into. You're making me very sympathetic, but no.
I mean, I'm fine. It is what it is. 2 minutes, I'm as accepting as the Doctor in his older version of what must be. So I'm saying, go ahead and shoot me on the Lake Silencio shorefront with your time weapon.
If you want to, I'll let you do this one facing the silent the whole time.
Oh God! Well, I was going to say, can we just have the silent do the TLDW? It'd be like, you learned that you should all shoot us on sight.
It'd be 2 minutes of it clearing its throat, unfortunately. So it would be a default. No,
let me see what happened in the cold open.
I think it's 2 minutes. We're keeping it there, and we're starting the official pull to open summary of the Impossible Astronaut and Day of the Moon in 3, 2, 1, go.
The Doctor's in history is trying to attract the attention of the Ponds, but fails. But then envelopes show up, and they have to go to America, and River's there as well, and the Doctor's there, but he's somehow downcast. And what is this? Canton Everett Delaware III shows up with a gasoline tank, and the Doctor's talking to an astronaut that's rising out of the lake, and it shot the Doctor. Oh my God, he's regenerating. But no, he's not regenerating. No, because the astronaut shot him again, and oh my God, he's dead. He is dead, and they have to give him a Viking burial because they got to burn the body. But then he walks in again as his younger self to the diner when they're all in shock afterwards because he got an envelope as well. And he's a bit suspicious of himself and his whole thing, but he has to go do it. It's about this guy, Cantonero at Delaware III, and 1969, and a little girl who's calling President Nixon. So they show up in the Oval Office and they hear about this little girl and they go and find her in this warehouse. And Amy reveals to the Doctor that she's pregnant. But they're in this warehouse, the warehouse full of silence, but they keep forgetting it. We keep forgetting the silence. They're in this throughout, but everyone keeps forgetting them. But after the warehouse, everyone remembers them, and they're on the run there throughout America, and they're getting captured. And in this dwarf alloy star secret panic room, where they can actually all talk and evade the silence and get in the TARDIS, and shenanigans happen. But basically, they defeat the Silence, who have been there all throughout human history. They reveal by inserting a little video of one telling humans to shoot them on sight into the broadcaster on the moon, because the Doctor got into Apollo 11 and got out of it thanks to his get out of jail free card with Richard Nixon. And then Amy gets kidnapped at some point and appears to return. And then the little girl from the astronaut thing is in an alley in New York City somehow now and is regenerating.
Time! Boom! Not bad at all. Wow. Great. Really got it in under the wire there. Like, it's a lot of jumping around, but you know what? The episode's a lot of jumping around, come to think of it. I mean, it's a Moffat episode.
Exactly. I mean, I can immediately think, I didn't think of the kids, the kids' home, that sort of...
Like the orphanage?
The orphanage, the break for the gothic horror of that moment. Because it does kind of feel like it's a bit out of... It's like we've almost jumped to a different show at that point. I mean, I know it's kind of doing all the same Moffat things and playing around with the silence and stuff, and it's where we first get the markings on the head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It's got this sort of you almost call it a classic Moffat style in a sense for his
Yeah.
two-parters. Like he likes to do unexpected and different things in both, right? Like it's almost like non sequitur when he does a two-parter. Not that he doesn't resolve cliffhangers, but he doesn't do it in the most obvious, like let's just pick up right where we left off kind of way. And so,
if anything, he goes too far in the other direction, right? And I think
exactly.
That's the problem when you first watch a Moffat. You're like, what? I can barely keep track. Like, it's 3 months later, but now they're also, and oh, it was all a ruse, and oh, he shot them, but they're still alive. And you're kind of reeling, right, the first time you see a Moffat two-parter.
Yeah, and it's just not linear. I mean, that's the thing. And so your linear brain wants to get invested in a bunch of these threads and is expecting them to get paid off. And that's, like I said, I don't think he does it not pay off. He just does it in out of order and in ways you're not expecting, which again is to his credit. I mean, he's a really smart writer. In terms of certainly brilliant in terms of dialogue, but it does feel like sometimes though, and this two-parter in particular, like he's almost challenging himself to kind of writing himself in a corner and getting out of it. In fact, I would argue that's the whole premise of this season, where it starts off like I'm writing myself into a corner by killing off the doctor essentially in the first scene. Not quite the first scene, but that's the first thing that happens this season. And it's like, okay, now the whole series then becomes, how do we undo that without undoing it?
Exactly. How do you really earn getting out of that? Because there's some way that he's going to get out of that. And by the way, I should state up front, like I think the advantage of coming to this randomly is we don't, we can say officially we don't know what happens in the rest of the season. Maybe we can have a moment to discuss that at the end of the show. But I'm going to say that if I sort of start talking spoilers from Wedding of River Song or anything like that, I'm just going to take a look at this guy for a few seconds and then erase my memory of the rest of the season, because I think we do have to judge this on its own. That is what the randomizer wants. And, whether or not it pays off all of the things that it set up here, it is a hell of a setup for a season-long arc. And the confidence on display here that he can do this. And it's sort of casually mentioned. I love it when Rory casually mentions at one point that they blew up the universe at the end of the last season. The universe did kind of explode. And it's like, oh yeah, fair point. And yet this feels bigger. This is like answering the question, where do you go when you've done that? But to your point of like, killing off the doctor, the origin of this is the fact that Stephen Moffat never throws away anything. Any idea he ever has, it gets recycled. I think the best creators do this. And this is recycled from when he thought he might still have Tennant at the beginning of his run.
Yeah.
And one of the first ideas he had for kind of starting afresh with Tennant was the idea of starting with Tennant being about to regenerate and then, flashback to how did this happen? Now, obviously you can't do that after Journey's End, which,
or like the end of time, really.
End of time. Well, I see what you mean,
but the fake out.
The fake out regeneration. Yes, I'm saying in an alternate world where End of Time was not the end for Tennant.
Right.
He'd have to. He couldn't really do that. He'd have to think of something else. But that's where it came from. And to think of it as doing a season opener, and his whole vibe was here: make the season opener as epic as a season finale. And you've got to say, according to that criteria, he absolutely succeeded.
Yeah, he really nails it, and I really like how he challenges himself with that, but he's a smart enough showrunner too to know that you have to still give us the familiar, and you have to give us why we watch the show, which is to say, we watch the show because we love these characters. We love the Doctor, Amy, Rory, and River, and we want to see them together doing things and having fun. Yeah. And right off the bat, they're doing that, which is smart. Like they don't waste time, right? Like Rory and Amy are in their apartment and River's off in the jail. And we've kind of seen this a little bit before, but he doesn't waste any time. Like there's a whole first act of just sort of getting them together. It's just from basically minute one, they all assemble in America and they're right away shooting hats off each other and just having witty dialogue. And it's great. Like, the gang is back together. We're having fun. And then with that fun dynamic, it completely flips it right away, right? Like, because it's like the doctor dies and it just gets deadly serious, like
And I've got to
immediately.
say, props to Stephen Moffat for the way that he set this up in the media at the time, was to say one of the 4 leads is going to die.
Mm.
And immediately your bias in your head is like, well, it's not going to be the doctor,
Yeah.
obviously. If you're a little bit more familiar with Doctor Who canon at this point in 2011, you're thinking, well, it's not going to be River.
Right.
We've seen her die. And by the way, I watched Silence of the Library, rewatched Silence of the Library, Forest of the Dead in advance of this. Another River 2-part. Really, really, really holds up. But there's a connection between the two, which is wonderful, which is that in Silence of the Library is where we learn the TARDIS doesn't go to Sundays.
Oh, yeah.
They're just too boring. And skips right over them. And the Doctor says something similar here. It's almost as if Moffat is continuing that piece of dialogue. And this is part of the genius of Moffat. It's almost like he's in conversation with himself across years. You know? He's the one showrunner who's like so timey-wimey. He's figured out how to make his stories talk to each other, across different seasons.
And
wonderful stuff.
When you were talking there about like the bias in our heads on who is going to die, I think most people would immediately think Rory, just because he's already died like 6 times or something at this point in the series.
Or Amy, because that would be the most shocking, But nobody guessed the Doctor.
Yeah. And he does it, and it gets deadly serious. And I got to say, this is it's so smart because just like I was saying, we have this great dynamic with the leads to have that sort of ripped away and have, particularly with Karen Gillan's performance, I feel like you really kind of believe it, right? Like you really obviously it's a show and there's going to be some undoing of this at some point, but she really delivers in that scene where all the scenes actually, where she just kind of like what she's like totally breaking up over him. And then when they get back to the diner too, where she's just still traumatized, clearly.
Well, that's the great thing is he rips that dynamic away, as you say, and then he puts it right back with a younger Doctor. And just genius. You can only do it once in the history of Doctor Who, but he does it. It's fantastic. He nails it. That slap from River, we really feel like why she did that, and also how that would feel to the Doctor. And how that would feel to poor Matt Smith, who apparently filming that scene was like his cheeks were red at one point because she really had to really slap him for it to work.
Yeah. Yeah, so absolutely.
If your dream has ever been to be slapped repeatedly by Alex Kingston, live Matt Smith's life, because he had that moment. My goodness.
Yeah. And I love you, but you're kind of like right there with the character, even though it's not really fair to the younger Doctor. You're so in her head, like, because you're on this emotional roller coaster too, and you totally understand it. And I just love the dialogue there, where it's like, "Oh, this is cold, even for you." It's like, or "Hello." That's what people would usually say.
And a happy hello to you too. Yeah, exactly. And what else is brilliant about that scene? Something for the repeat viewings, which we've just done. And I've got to say, this is one I've returned to before. This was extracurricular viewing several times, so I'm surprised the randomizer didn't pick up on that earlier, as it usually does. But you see what part of the genius of Moffat was who he told about the whole season first. He told Alex Kingston everything about her character and River's parents. Spoilers. So she knew that as she's filming the scenes in the diner, she knows all about the older version of the Doctor and all of that stuff. And she's so one thing she does is the way that she's sort of comforting Amy at one point.
Yeah.
But Karen Gillan hasn't been told about their relationship. So
nice.
So she's looking confused. Alex Kingston is looking meaningfully at her, and it just like that. There's an extra layer that you can pick out when you know the eventual spoilers for all of this.
Wow, yeah, it's really smart. But I got to say, the what people know and what they don't also comes out early in the episode, and because you're right there with the 4 leads for a while. And it leads to another one of my favorite scenes, honestly, with Matt Smith and his doctor when they're back in the TARDIS. And they're basically following the one lead they have from Canton. And they're like, okay, we're going to go back to 1969, or he's actually sort of setting it up like this is where we would go. Yeah. And he says, so where are we going? No, we're not. I'm just taking you guys back home, and we're going to take you back to prison, and we're done. And he sits down and he's just like, don't play me for a fool. I know you guys know something and you're not telling me. And there's all this stuff where they're keeping it from him, seemingly to protect him. I mean, they are keeping it from him to protect him, but I love it. Reminds us that we don't know, even as viewers, who River is, and because there's all this familiarity, and I think that's really kind of essential because it is a season opener, and there are new people coming, and you're almost like there's so much dynamic and shorthand between these four leads. You feel like, oh, if I haven't been watching the show for the past couple of years, I probably would be lost. But then the doctor stands up and reminds, like, we don't really know this person. He doesn't know her. And I just love that bit where he's like, oh yeah, I'll just trust you. No problem. Except, who are you? I just love that. It's just like, oh yeah, trust you. Seriously.
Which I've got to say, coming to that bit straight from Forest of the Dead, where she says his name, and he trusts her implicitly from that point. Has he forgotten this? Has he looked at her silent and completely forgotten the River knows his name, and there's only one situation in which he'd tell her?
Well, it's more that he's really annoyed right now, and you could make the case either way, right? Like, he still doesn't really know who she is, and there's a sense that if you don't know, like, there's a manipulation component to this that could be present here, right? So I do like that he would trust Amy more in this moment because of his special relationship with her. And the thing is that's the dynamic between him and River too, right? Because they're a little bit like, there has to be a little tension there, or the flirtation doesn't really work. You know?
He loves a bad girl, as he says.
Yeah. And there's a lot of great flirty lines in this. Some of them are a little bit almost over the top.
Oh my goodness, the handcuffs, the screamer.
The screamer line in particular, which I think is... It's actually, I think it works because, like, if you're a kid, it just goes over your head. It's like when I was a kid watching James Bond movies and he was making jokes about, do you like blondes or redheads? Well, as long as the cuffs and the collars match, and as a kid, you're just like, I don't know what he's talking about. And then as an adult, you have a good laugh when you're like, oh, right. I remember being as a kid not really knowing what that meant. And like here, you could definitely like, she screams when she's in danger, right? That must be what.
That's what she's talking about. And Moffat is good at sort of playing both the flirtatiousness and the innocence of Matt Smith, all of which you feel naturally in his wheelhouse. By the way, another reason for us to come straight here from The Caretaker. We'll get to all of those reasons later, but the Matt Smithness of Matt Smith, who we said was like a ghost at the feast in The Caretaker, with Ian as the Matt Smith stand-in. You really see, like, his and River's relationship, like, he's gotten over his awkward Mrs. Robinson phase. And by the way, that is one of my favorite lines, where he walks into the Oval Office, introduces his companions as the legs, the nose, and Mrs. Robinson. And that just gives River another one of those moments where she's like, I hate that man. Like, that was one of her best moments.
Moffat's just getting so much out of him in this sort of two-parter. And I do all love that old dynamic in the Oval Office. I mean, it's played for such great laughs, particularly when Matt sort of comes out of the TARDIS and he's sort of taking notes, and Nixon and Canton don't know he's there. And then they see him there and he's kind of like, just like, carry on. Just as a quick gesture, keep going.
I love that Moffat has found so many shortcuts here, so much shorthand. I mean, shorthanding the characters so that there's a reason for four people to be in the TARDIS, which is usually a lot. It doesn't feel like a lot here. Each character, as you say, feels like the serving purpose. Amy's there for the Doctor to trust. River's there to flirt with and be suspicious of, and then Rory is just It's just he's ultimate sad sack Rory in this. He's like, oh, I'm going to save her, even if she's, not doesn't like me.
Yeah.
She likes the doctor.
Oh yeah, we should talk about that. But I do like the lines with Rory where he's kind of put upon, and it certainly emphasizes his character. But the bit where I think the doctor asks him to go down into the dark with River, and he's like, "Do you have a problem with that?" And he's like, "Yeah, a little bit." Well, then I appreciate it all that much more. And then even when Canton is first in the TARDIS. By the way, I'd really love that bit. Again, great dialogue where he's like, Tanton, don't even think about following us, And
don't close the door behind you.
Yeah, that was it. And he comes in, and then Rory is saddled with bringing him up to speed on bigger inside than outside and time and space machine. Yes. And he's like, and the doctor's just like, how's this going? Going well? Great.
And apparently he asked Amy why he has to do it, and it's because he's the newest. He's the new kid. This is part of the hazing you have to introduce. Now, what we don't get to see here, thank you for bringing that up, because I want to go straight to the bigger on the inside moment. So much is happening, we don't even realize it. Richard Nixon becomes a companion. I mean,
by our measure, by our true companion.
I don't know. You should pull up the true companion spreadsheet because we need to figure this out. I'd forgotten Richard Nixon takes a trip on the TARDIS.
He does
at least one, and that's kind of papered over here, which is. Again, it's brilliant. Moffat is kind of being the silence here in a lot of ways. Kind of like, oh, you didn't see this. Like, we forget the fact that Richard Nixon is in this so much. And because it's acknowledged at the start that Nixon is problematic.
Right.
And he's mentioned Vietnam and Watergate. And, is he, there's raised the question of like, was it enough? No, it wasn't. That whole thing, they get it over in 5 seconds. And then it's just like, okay, it's Richard Nixon. And because the director makes a very excellent choice to have Nixon far away from the camera as much as possible. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just a suggestion of Nixon. Because every time you get up close, you see the prosthetics. You see the fact that he's just doing the usual Richard Nixon that most people do.
A little bit. And what else are you going to do, right? I mean, it's not. They're not doing the Anthony Hopkins serious examination of him. But I will say, like, of all the things I've seen depicting Richard Nixon in popular media, I think this is the one where I came away with the most favorable impression of him. Leave it to Doctor Who to kind of almost rehabilitate his image.
Seriously,
even though they sort of acknowledge, like you said in that opening scene, and he says, "Say hello to Richard Frost for me."
David Frost,
David Frost, that was it. And so, like, they obviously allude to all the issues, and then again, great dialogue. Like, I like the bit where they are talking in the TARDIS, and he's like, "There's some good stuff too. Not enough. Hippie archaeologist."
Yes, that's all of this wonderful shortcutting by Moffat. I got to say, the doctor does suggest at the end that Nixon install a recording system in the Oval Office because of the threat of the silence. Now, of course, we know that Nixon did set up a recording system. Let me briefly step into a teeny tiny history corner here.
Oh, hold on.
And just,
it's time for the Pull to Open History Corner.
Teeny tiny version. So Nixon did install a taping system in the office. It was, of course, the thing that brought him down because Watergate. It's also the thing that lets us know now, as historians, that Nixon liked to drink a lot in the Oval Office and get hella racist with it while doing so. That was his whole thing, racist and anti-Semitic. But he installed that taping system. So Day of the Moon is set in, obviously, July 1969, around about the Apollo mission, Apollo 11. Now, Richard Nixon installed the taping system in the Oval Office in February 1971. So either he's the kind of guy who just forgets to do stuff, just has a long list. Kind of gets around to it. Maybe he's like the doctor who's always, oh yeah, I should get that scanner fixed, which of course River does immediately. Or I would like to suggest that perhaps what happened between 1969 and 1971 is that the silence knew that they needed to go on an all-out campaign to make Nixon forget stuff. As, if you're now being hunted by the entire human race, which is what the post-hypnotic suggestion of the Doctor's tape does, they got to zero in on the most powerful man in the world so that he doesn't send the Pentagon after the silence.
So the silence brought down Nixon, is what you're saying?
Yeah. Well, they created the entire Apollo program because they needed a spacesuit, apparently. Right. Something I only got on a rewatch.
Yeah, we'll definitely get to that. This is a good time to talk about the silence, I guess. So,
talk about the who? I was going to say it's phenomenal that this is got to be known as the first episode of Doctor Who with no monsters in it.
Right. Yeah. Hold on.
Anyway, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, the silence. Yes, they are underrated. Totally underrated, I think.
I think they're about rated. They're about rated right. I think they're good. I think they're outstanding in this two-parter, and partly because of the design. And so they were. I think first. I actually don't know when Stephen Moffat decided he was actually going to make an alien called the Silence. So they're first sort of alluded to in Matt Smith's first adventure, The 11th Hour, when Prisoner Zero says silence will fall. But I think we all sort of took that to mean like, oh, there will be some epic devastation and then there will be nothing. And not literally there's something called the Silence. And then, of course, he came out, well, what if there was something called the Silence? So I don't know if that was like something Stephen Moffat had in mind when he first wrote that very first line, and he just sort of, or just thought somewhere along the way, wouldn't it be interesting if there was a bad guy called the Silence and we could give more depth to that line?
Yeah, my understanding is that he was challenging himself to come up with something Weeping Angels-ish, but that kind of did them one better.
And they have, yeah, exactly. Like in terms of abilities, I'd say it's probably even more powerful than the Angels. And I like I like it. Like it's an interesting thing, and it almost sort creates an impossible problem, so to speak, which is that how could you possibly defeat these guys? And we'll get into sort of how they do it in the episode. But just on a sort of macro level, I do feel like that there are important things you need to pay attention to for that to make sense. And one is that the Doctor's exposition at the beginning of Day of the Moon, where he talks about how they're parasites, that they don't really have original thought. They don't really have their own technology. They just sort of feed off everything around them. And I think that's sort of the only way they could kind of work, because otherwise they would just be a little too powerful with this ability. And then you factor in other things like, okay, they've been an occupying force on the Earth for thousands of years, apparently. So they have this overconfidence. They don't have weapons or even have any weapons, really, other than their electro zap ability, which I would argue you don't even need. Like, again, their ability to forget, make you forget, and implant suggestion into your psyche is massively powerful. Like it's just, how could you possibly do anything against them? And then say they sort of, sell it well enough in this story. I think it works, but like it is a extremely compelling idea that if you gave them human-like ambition, drive, and creativity, you would never be able to defeat them. So they have to sort of depower them with these other bits.
I mean, the best Doctor Who monsters, I think, play on, on our natural human fears. Apparently, we're afraid of shouting pepper pots, but we're certainly afraid of like becoming more machine than man. Right? That was a perhaps more adult fear that led to the Cybermen, and I think this is a more adult fear as well, because we're all afraid of losing our memories, dementia, Alzheimer's. These exist in our world. These are real things to be afraid of, and we've all had that moment of like, was that just a brain fart, or is this it? Am I losing my mind? Am I going downhill? Like all of that. That's what this plays on. And I think it's entirely appropriate that the look of the Silence was apparently based on the Munch painting, The Scream.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Well, which has become an emoji. And I actually wish that the Silence had done that a little more. Like just, have the inspiration be direct, or just like, like that's...
No, that's a little on the nose. They could look a little silly if they had their hands on their cheeks. But I
don't
think,
know. I think claws look a little sillier when you're waving them in the camera. It's just being
yeah,
dubbed
that was a
around.
little. Well, the hands look weird and alien, which works.
Mm.
But I think the design works doubly well for this episode because overall they kind of look like a hybrid of the Greys, gray aliens, and the Men in Black, which is extremely appropriate for this setting, right? This sort of FBI 1969 Roswell-ish kind of idea. So this one, like, I think the silence work really, really well in this two-parter. I'm not sure if they've worked well in any other appearance that they've had. Of course, we'll get there when we get there. I don't think we've done any other of them for the
No, I
podcast
don't
yet.
think so. Or if we have, we've forgotten it.
Yeah. So they're cool. Again, there's a few points I think in Day of the Moon where you kind of wonder, well, like, why aren't they just killing, Amy or Rory or whatever? Essentially, why are they letting them run around? And again, you need to kind of headcanon that a bit. I mean, they sort of say in the episode, but it's, again, like I say, they're overconfidence, and we don't really know their overall plan at this point. And I think from everything that sort of happened subsequently, you sort of learn that they're not really that interested in Earth all that much.
Yeah.
They're basically just using it to create this assassin for Madame Kavorian, which we don't know at this point.
And I'm going to have to. Yep. Okay.
So
Sorry,
it's
what
kind
happened?
of one of the reasons I would say that it doesn't 100% work, because you're a little too OP, and I write with the script on how they defeat them, though, which is super duper clever, like inserting that bit of dialogue, a little line in the moon landing footage, and then just trusting that footage will be seen by everyone in human history from that point on, which is like, that's a fair assumption.
Yeah. Exactly. We're all going to watch it. It's inserted. I'd forgotten that it was inserted between That's One Small Step for Man and A Giant Leap for Mankind.
Yeah, and there is like a little bit of like, I think, in the original thing. And then, like, it's probably just enough time to say that like once. And so, yeah, it would totally make sense that would work. And then they're out of here.
It's a bit dark when you think about it, though.
It is.
Because what we're posting is, from 1969. If you've thought that from 1969 onwards the world has seemed a little bit weird, that's because many of us have been shooting silence.
I've been murdering them, killing them on sight.
We've just been killing them on sight. There must have been corpses piling up in the street that we've just forgotten as we walk past them.
Exactly.
We're like, what a lovely day this is. What the hell is that? What a lovely day this is, I mean, that must have been happening so many times. God, the 70s were dark. I mean, I hope that we eradicated most of the silence on Earth by the end of the 70s, and things started to get a little better at that point.
Yeah, you kind of
maybe that
wonder,
explains
like,
the 80s too,
Yeah, like what happened to the bodies eventually, right? So did they just decompose on their own? Were they hoovered up? There's a silence collection patrol that was sort of somehow emerged out of this?
Or were they all just like, okay, the doctor's got us, we'd better all leave. Everyone,
there you go.
Yeah.
That always happens.
I want to see like a short series of TARDISodes where it's just like, the enemy packing up and leaving Earth again after the Doctor defeats us again. Wait a minute, why are we packing up? Oh yeah, that's because he's inserted this video in the moon landing and we're going to get shot on sight.
Yeah.
So they stuck around for the end of Richard Nixon, made sure that he was brought down, or distracted or drunk.
Yeah.
And,
there's a interesting, I don't know if this is a retcon. I think it probably was, because I think Moffat probably didn't know, he's not as much of a master planner as I think he wants us to think he was, but the Silence ship, or at least their operating bay or whatever, was apparently first seen in the Lodger.
Yes.
So that was, I guess, in hindsight, that was supposed to be the Silence. That was sort of doing something in Craig's apartment or his neighbor's apartment or wherever that was. I don't know why they were doing something there, but I think it was just kind of an interesting thing to attach to reusing a set.
It was nice because it would be fresh in a lot of people's minds. At this point, 8 million people a week were watching Doctor Who week in, week out.
That's
so
right.
They would remember that from the lodger. But that's a nice segue, because I think that I realized for the first time rewatching this that is the point, or maybe it's the point where we first see Ganger Amy, or what we know in the future to be Ganger Amy.
In where? Which point exactly?
In that set where of the ship.
Oh, right, yeah.
She's like, no, I was just brought here a few minutes ago, and they're like, you have been here forever, or something like that. Days. So that's our first vision of the Ganger. But
maybe. This is a bit of debate on when Amy was taken exactly, right? Because they never say it explicitly. So later in the season, the Doctor speculates it was before America, but he's speculating. And I think it doesn't make sense that it would be before America, because it's clearly like their opportunity to get her was in 1969.
Yes.
And in my view, I would say it makes more sense that it was in the bathroom scene in Impossible Astronaut, where she first sees the silent. And so because of that, like, she would forget, obviously, her being taken, and they just sort of, flip Amy's there, because it obviously happens before she's taken in the next episode, because she has the vision of Madame Kavorian in the orphanage, which means she's already Ganger Amy by that point.
I think she's taken in the orphanage, though. I think that's where the swap happens. It has to happen around about the pregnancy thing, right?
Yeah.
So it can't happen in the Impossible Astronaut, because it's at the end of that where Amy tells the Doctor she's pregnant.
Right.
Ganger Amy wouldn't say that, would have no need to say that. It's more that Ganger Amy is the one who's saying she's not pregnant.
Right. That's fair. So then it makes more sense then, I would say, that she's taken in the 3 months of them running around America, which was apparently like what they were doing between the two episodes. So that works.
I don't know. I'm still thinking it's in that it's in the children's home. That's where all the silents are. She's more likely to be taken, and then
that would be the last possible time. But the only problem I have with that is that the Kavorian thing is, it seems like what the tiny bit of dialogue she has implies she's been there a bit. She's been there for a little bit. So
honestly, I think they made a mistake putting that in too early, because it's you look back at it, it doesn't quite make sense. But definitely, hands down, what I saw this time for the first time was when they're in that ship in the set from the lodger, and they've got her strapped down there. The way they've got the light shining on Karen Gillan's face so bright that you're like, oh, Ganger, she's
or something's going on with her.
Something's going on with it. Her flesh looks different.
Yeah.
It looks brighter than usual. It's different. And she's got that whole dialogue about, I was just there, and you can't gaslight me, or whatever it is that she says.
Yeah. Well, speaking of dialogue there, I think there's the one part of this whole two-parter that I really hate is her dialogue with herself that Rory overhears via the glowy thing.
Yeah.
Where she's talking about how, I know you think it's the other guy, but it's you, and I love you, and you dropped out of the sky and changed my life. I know you're going to come to save me, and it's all said in a way that's like, oh, clearly she means the Doctor. At least Rory's taking it that way, and then they sort of redo it later, where it's like, oh, I meant you, Rory. And it's playing off this dynamic that we were supposed to have been over from Amy's choice. Like, I just really hate that they went back to this where there's this somehow romantic triangle between the three of them. And, it just really plays on Rory's insecurities. And I think it unfortunately sort of makes him look bad for being super insecure about all this. And also, like, why are you phrasing it this way, Amy? Like, why don't you just say the guy's name?
Right.
Come on.
And then there's that whole thing of like, get your stupid face where I can see it. And then Rory has the realization where he's like, you called me a stupid face later. And she's like, like he wouldn't know that that's a, you don't just like come up with a name for your husband on the fly like that. Like you have your pet names in place already. Oh, yeah. I think Stephen Moffat must have stared at a silent and forgotten that he'd moved past the love triangle thing with them.
Yeah, and I'm fairly forgiving of Moffat for sort of doing a lot of this stuff. In fact, I like some of the romantic stuff that he put in at various other points. Even in Series 5, I would just say, like, at this point, come on, we're done with that. This was just silliness. I mean, and just, it was a bad choice. Okay.
Yes. Okay, well, it's hard to think what else. There's so much we could say about this. That Canton Everett Delaware III. What do you think of as a character?
Speaking of companions, like in terms of whether Nixon is or not, we could talk about. But I would say Canton is solidly a companion. Like,
do you have our criteria pulled up? Should we talk about that?
I don't, but I could remember that. Okay, if he travels in the TARDIS, it's you get, I think, 4 points. And I think if you are in more than one story, the thing is, this counts as one story, so he's not in more than one story.
Yeah,
he doesn't travel in time though. They only travel in space in the TARDIS, so that doesn't count. He's kind of invited, so you could argue that, but he's not invited to travel with them. So I don't think you could argue he was invited to be a companion. So I don't think he quite makes it. I think he's just traveled in the TARDIS in terms of our criteria.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Well, I did love, and I feel like I forget this. I must look at a silent every time I learn this little piece of information. The fact that old Canton was supposed to be Mark Sheppard, who plays young Canton, done in makeup, and then he said, "No, how about my dad? He's a veteran of Star Trek." And Moffat was like, "Get him in," and that was perfect. You know, I can't remember many more dad-son pairings on TV where they played the same person, but I believe this also happened in Supernatural at one point.
Well, honestly, even if you couldn't get your dad, and it's, obviously they were lucky here that he was an actor and looked quite a bit like a son, obviously, like, just recast, that's what I would say is probably usually a better choice. Now, again, you make decisions based on time and what you can do and what you can get. I get all that. It's not going to be perfect, but I think everyone appreciated, even if they didn't know he was the actor's father, that they didn't just have some guy in obvious prosthetics. Just cast someone who kind of looks the part and go for it. So yeah, I thought it was great that this guy walks up and is clearly not just a person in makeup.
Yeah. Good job, old Canton.
But yeah, Canton himself, I think he's a great character. I really like that he is portrayed as this rebel right off the bat. He's in the bar. And, he has that joke about not voting for Nixon. And he but he sort of still has a pretty good dynamic with Nixon, enough that Nixon trusts him enough. And then when, because Canton is the person that helps the doctor win over the president and just basically gets him the access, because Canton's the one who's win over a bull by the doctor. And so he's a very necessary role there. And you very much believe that he is this great investigator who can kind of see behind someone's behavior and his intention, and sort of picks apart who the doctor is pretty quickly, or at least has some idea of what he knows and what he wants to do. And so he trusts his gut. Obviously, it was a good instinct, and then they just end up having a good dynamic. But of course, we don't really know or trust Canton entirely. So when they open Day of the Moon with him being seemingly like the bad guy now, that's still believable, So again, it's a lot of sort of misdirection. And like I say, I guess I would say in Day of the Moon, it relies so much on misdirection and all this sort of almost a pastiche of scenes that happen that might be the weakness of it. But you're kind of with it, in the moment. Like, some of the stuff falls apart under scrutiny, like who was doing what, how did so-and-so know this or that, why don't the Silents just do this or that? But as you keep up, you're not really looking too far either side. And I think Canton's performance is a big part of that.
I think you've put your finger on a big part of the success of Impossible Astronaut: Day of the Moon. It did, we can argue the toss about what the rest of season 6 did. I know it was divisive for some people. Some people didn't like it. We had Dave Kitchen on the show when we were talking about another season 6 story, The Doctor's Wife. He stopped watching during season 6, so I'm sure he wasn't alone. But I think at least here at the start, everything is bright, everything is promise, and everything is a collection of great scenes. And the one that stuck in my head this time is like, Stephen Moffat's so good at coming up with things that would be a great screenshot. And one of them is like Matt Smith with his legs up on the desk in the Oval Office with guns pointing all around him. Like coming into the shot at every single angle is a gun. and he's just sort of casually there at the desk like, I can explain in 5 minutes why you need to listen to me. And it's classic Doctor. It's so like it's peak Doctor Who at that moment.
Yeah, there are some really amazing like cover of the magazine scenes in this. That's definitely one of them. Him on the car is another one in the opening scenes. Like all those scenes in America, the location stuff. Like they clearly only had like a limited amount of time because it's mostly Utah and Arizona and the dam.
Yeah,
and then
they make good use of height in this, and height of actors. I was saying, not just Matt Smith, who's you think of that scene on the car and legs up in the Oval Office. Like you really make use of the fact that Matt Smith's a long, lanky bastard, big long legs, but also the fact that the guy playing the Silence, Marnix van den Broek. That's a name I'm going to forget in 5 seconds. He's 6'7". He's a dancer and he's 6'7".
Yeah.
I mean, and then you stick the silent head on top of him. So like, and you really get a sense of that, right? The silence kind of just tower over you.
I wonder if he's ever played the Predator. I'll bet he gets a lot of creature work. You need tall guys.
Yeah, I think he is. He's one of these dancer like Doug Jones types. He's just in so many things.
Wow. All right. Well, that answers the question of who was in the silent suit. But hey, we've got some more questions to answer. And those are, of course, the 4 questions to Doomsday. First question. Why did the randomizer take us here?
I thought the first question was, is it silence or silence?
That'll be question 1B.
Yes. Why did the randomizer take us here? Because I bloody mentioned the silence during the Whomoji challenge. I literally summoned them, and I said spoilers. And it's like another cold open, just like the Caretaker, where a lot is happening, a lot happening throughout, and it's Moffat to Moffat. And Jim the Fish, people, fish, people. Jim the Fish. He's a fish. He's a person.
There you go.
Also, I got to say, it's nice to step away from the controversy over RTD2. Everyone's got their thoughts on RTD2 right now. It is the perfect time, I think, to do a Moff retrospective. Because it's, we're one showrunner, 2 showrunners ago at this point. And it's like, let's look at Doctor Who done a bit of a different way. And, another season that kind of fell apart, perhaps you could argue in the eventuality of it, but that opened strong, as Shooty would often open strong. But this is hella opening strong. This is insane, shooting for the moon, you might say.
Aha! See what you did there. Yeah, I totally agree. I think the randomizer might have just missed Matt Smith, though, because the last time we did a story of his era was almost a year ago. It was The Girl Who Waited, and that was like last September. So there's
we've waited since then, yeah. Crazy. We've waited for a year.
Yeah. So, and then, there's echoes of, there's obviously regeneration all over the place here, and a lot of regeneration energy spraying out of Matt Smith and the girl.
Right.
And,
this may be most regeneration energy ever. So I guess another reason to go here right after a regeneration.
Yeah, exactly. Regeneration obviously being got was. And then there, of course, there's the double doctor fun that we had in the Android invasion, where we had two doctors, and we have two doctors here. One of them, they give very explicit ages for both of them. So
right,
as we know, there's a 200-year gap. We talked a little bit about that when we did Closing Time, I believe. But the two ages are 909 and 1103.
very specific.
Yeah, like they've definitely jumped ahead in terms of the Doctor's age after this season opener. Because why not? You know, I like sort of the moxie of Stephen Moffat in a lot of ways, and one of them was that once he had been showrunner for a year, I think he just started doing stuff. Like he was just like, who else is going to do it? I'm the showrunner. I'm going to explain the Doctor getting a new cycle of regenerations. I'm going to show his age and tell people there was a big gap in this particular incarnation. Because why? Why not? Because I'm the showrunner. I can do what I want.
I can set up basically what would be the longest lasting Doctor ever. Just do it casually in the season opener, just by mentioning ages. And I love that when they asked the younger Doctor his age, he's like, it's a bit personal. I love the difference between the two. Also, I love, by the way, the fact that the Doctor that we see in the dine of the first Doctor, like you can actually believe that that's a spoilers, not the Doctor, like just sort of this sad replicant. I forget what it's actually finally called.
Oh, the Tesselectra?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we don't have to get into it because we want to do this as a standalone, but it is just as a side note, obvious, like spoilers, everybody, the Doctor that's killed is actually a robot or a sort of a vessel. And the idea that it's just not a great closer for this. This whole season, I think. Maybe I should edit that out. I feel like I just spoiled stuff totally unnecessarily. I'll think about that in post.
It's all right. Everyone, look behind me right now. It's all right. We don't
exactly focus on the image behind Chris. All right. Well, that is all about the randomizer. Now it is all about the evil plot succeeding. Because the second question is, what if that happened? What if the evil plot had succeeded?
Well, here's one of the times in Doctor Who where we get to say it did, and it did.
Yes, pretty much. Well, and I'll even add it did a third time because you notice I skipped over the silence. But I'm not. I'm factoring it into this question because there's not much else to talk about. Actually, there's a little bit to talk about in terms of the evil plot.
Yeah, if the evil plot of the silence had succeeded, then human history just continues with them in charge.
Yeah, and I think that's the only thing other than the actual evil plot succeeding, which they do, because the Silence do get the spacesuit and the girl, and their plot to kill the Doctor does succeed, as we see in the very first moments of this episode. And so all of that is the season opener is sort of kicking off this tremendous success that Madame Kavorian and the Silence have later in the season. And so the only thing that happens here is that the humans kick the Silence off Earth in 1969, or at least begin to. And that's great. And I honestly think that's not just irrelevant, which is to say, like, they have some designs on Earth. They obviously want to be parasites and conquer planets or be occupiers of planets. That's just sort of what they do. So getting rid of them is great. But thinking about that succeeding is like that doesn't work.
Just keep going. I mean, I guess this question, it becomes a question of, do you think everything was better in the world before 1969 or after? This question is a referendum on the rule of the silence.
Yeah, you got a point.
Yeah, do we want to go back to? I mean, there's a lot of things to recommend the 60s. Yeah. Also, a lot of nasty stuff happened, and I don't really. If the Silence were behind Vietnam, I don't know. Let's not go back to that. But if they were behind a lot of great music, then brilliant. Bring back the 60s. What would you vote?
Yeah, 60s. I could leave him. I could leave him. That's fine.
Yeah.
Other than certain television tea time programming, I might
Oh, yeah?
I might keep. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Not as
I mean,
bad as-
keeping the silence in charge. I guess what would happen is that somehow their plan doesn't work, or they jam his ability to upload the footage, and it just doesn't work. So, does the doctor then die? Do they capture him, or maybe he just believes it worked when it really didn't? How would he know? He would always just forget seeing them.
And really, shoot them on sight only works if you happen to have a gun in your hand. Which,
Right.
yes,
We'll kill them on
okay,
sight. He says, "Kill us all on sight."
kill us all on sight. Well, yeah, again, it's like how do you kill a 6'7" monster that you've only just noticed?
Yeah, especially because they
What would
can
you-
draw electricity into themselves and just zap you if you
Yeah,
try. There's that
yeah.
too. I mean, it does seem to take
Well.
them a minute to build up the voltage. So, but still, yeah, it's tough.
Yeah. I don't know, and maybe they can like sneak into the CBS control room or whatever, and like just change the tape that they always use when they replay the moon landing.
Well, that's a good question for the third question, because I think I have an answer for that. But
Ooh.
I did promise that we would talk about silence and silence. So,
Yes.
so here's my view of it, and I think this is sort of how the stuff online sort of aligns with, which is that there is such a thing as a silent. So a single member of the silence is a silent, but when you pluralize it, well, actually, I'd say there's probably two uses. If you are literally talking about a plural, so like there are three silents over there, it would be INTS or ENTS, sorry.
Okay.
And if you were talking about the race, though, and the movement and like their kind of cult, I guess, it is silence with a CE.
Wow.
So that's how
Okay.
it goes. Like the Church
There
of the
we have
Silence is CE.
There's something perfect about you saying all this in a bow tie. I feel like this is the grammar lesson that I completely forgot. I did actually go to school that day. I just forgot this lesson on what is the correct grammar for the silence.
Yeah. So
Thank you
you've
for
been
answering that
misspelling
question.
them, and if you have been misspelling them your whole life, let me fix that for you. All better.
Fixed. Oh my God.
Fixed
All right.
and locked into the third question, which is, of course, where is the Clara Splinter? Clara Oswald, of course, splintered in time at the end of The Name of the Doctor. She is somewhere in every single Doctor Who story. Where is she in The Impossible Astronaut and Day of the Moon?
All right. So you had the
Yep.
idea that she's the one making sure that the silence don't fix the tape.
She's guarding the tape. She's either working at CBS or the National Archives or wherever the copies are maintained. And not only is she ensuring that the footage stays intact, she is ensuring the timestamps line up with what people would expect, as opposed to like if you looked at it, you would say, "Hey, wait a minute, this is actually 1.2 seconds longer than it's broadcast." And then
Ooh.
so no one sort of carefully looks at each frame, because then they would just see all the stuff, and you would think if there was enough scrutiny, someone would figure something out.
Right, so she's like the world's best hacker. She buries all the timestamp stuff, or
Yeah.
she's wow.
And so
that's-
I think, she can't be a normal human then. So I think this is probably Time Lady Clara, as we were talking about here.
it could be. But remember, Clara Splinter is usually just born with like preternatural abilities or whatever.
Yeah,
they need
could
to
just be that.
fulfill their role.
She's in tune
but I
with the
like this.
Matrix or whatever it is.
I like also the idea that, fresh from doing that, part of her job is going to be making sure that we all watch that moon landing video as often as possible. And what is going to make us watch it more than spreading conspiracy theories that it was faked?
Yep.
And spreading the rumor about Stanley Kubrick and the shadows and all the rest of it. Count the shadows. By the way, if you are a moon conspiracy theorist and you do wonder, like, there's too many shadows in this one shot of the moon, that was Vashta Narada.
Ooh, look at
Yeah.
that.
A little bit of extra headcanon for you there. But yeah, she's spreading conspiracy theories. She's the ultimate conspiracy theorist because we all have to watch that over and over again to try and say, well, like, there's something off with this moon landing video and I don't know what it is. I got to watch it again.
Somehow the timestamps line up, though. I don't get it.
It's crazy, but suddenly I get the urge to kill this guy. Anyway.
All right. Well, she's conspiring to keep the conspiracy alive.
She's Conspiracy Clara. I love it.
Conspiracy Clara. I love it.
That's what they call her.
All right, guys, it's time to move on to the final question, but not before I let you know about our website, pulltoopen.net, which is a place you can subscribe to our newsletter. And our newsletter has written notes for all of the random episodes that we do. There's always a few things that we don't get around to talking about, so there's fresh content there. Also a great way to keep up with the pod. You will get a new email every time we have new podcasts to remind you to check out Pull to Open. So how about that? We handle all of that for you. And now it is time for the fourth question, the final question, the only question that matters for the Impossible Astronaut and Day of the Moon. What did we think of this story? The Pull to Open rating system has 7 ratings. There's the Dalek, which we give to a good episode of Doctor Who. The Ogron, which we give to an irredeemably bad episode of Doctor Who. The Professor Hater, which we give to a not-so-great episode, but hey, at least they tried something. The Viscount Banger, which we reserve for the best of the best. The Fixed Point in Time, which is a show beyond rating, usually for reasons of nostalgia. The Lady Cassandra, which is a paper-thin plot, but hey, at least it looks good. Or the Zarbi, an episode that is so bad, it's good. What say you, sir, about The Impossible Astronaut and Day of the Moon?
Well, I went into this thinking that I could only give it 1 rating. I was prepared to be disappointed, but I was not. I was, in fact, boosted even further. And all I can say is Doctor Who's a banger now. Bangers are cool.
It's a banger. Nice, as a standalone.
It's as a standalone, The Impossible Astronaut Day of the Moon is for me a banger. And the reason is, like, yes, there are flaws, yes, there are plot holes, but like it comes down to something where it's like the stuff that I'm headcanoning is so small. It's like, as we were talking about the Clara Splinter, I was like, ooh, maybe there's another Clara Splinter and she's the one who drives the school bus that drops Amy and Rory in the middle of nowhere. Like, that's a thing that fans have zeroed in on. It's like, how did they get a school bus to drop them off at Lake Silencio? What's going on there? I'm like, that's just so small,
Right.
when we're so used to much bigger structural problems with the story. And maybe you could argue that this season arc has structural problems. That's a whole different thing. But this opener in itself, it's full on banger. It's Moffat at the height of his game. I mean, come on, how can you give it anything else? But I bet you can.
Yeah. I mean, you're kind of convincing me. I was going to give this one a super strong Dalek, and I think it's definitely a Dalek. Like, I mean, it's nothing less than that,
Right?
certainly. But you're kind of like, I think just talking about it and all the sort of dialogue stuff, like particularly like seeing the dynamic and how they sort of play with it. I watched this with Grace, and she really enjoyed it and really wanted to dive right into the second episode, even though it was kind of late at night for her and she had to go to bed because she was so into the story. And then, even once the Day of the Moon was over, she was like, well, what's happening with the doctor? Like, I mean, he's still going to die, right? Like I need to find out what happens.
Yeah.
So
it's got that what happens next juice. It really does.
It's got a lot of that, and that's Doctor Who, cliffhangers and what's next.
And fever dreams this absolutely is.
Should I do it? Should I change my rating at the last second?
I don't know. I mean, you could always hybrid it. You could always say that it's a banger hiding inside.
I think I need to do it. I think I have to hybrid this, and that's what I'm doing. I can't go all the way with it. There, like I say, I do have some issues, mostly with Day of the Moon and how overpowered the silents are, and how there's a few things that are just too convenient. I get, yes, everything is plot holes, but the whole thing where they, get to the orphanage, and there's all this stuff on the walls, which again is scary, but you get the sense it's a little too over the top. Like there's a little too much convenient, like we're just going to do horror movie stuff because going on there.
Lightning all over the place. I get it.
Yeah, and that's all there. And then the action. The thing is, I really love the whole lead up to the final action climax. The doctor's speech is perfect. I love the resolution of the inserting of the footage, but then it turns into this crazy electric fighting thing, which is, you got to do it. I get it. It's a sci-fi show and you got to do kind of this high tension climax, but it is like kind of nuts and over the top and not much happens there. So I find enough that is not perfect that I'm going to give it a Dalek banger hybrid. What would we call this? It's kind of I was thinking this is kind of like a Riddler Dalek because there's so many questions, and it's really good at them, and you're kind of compelled by them.
I like that, a Riddler Dalek.
Yeah, it's a Riddler Dalek banger.
Perfect. I love it. Wait a second. What were our ratings again?
Our ratings are whatever you like, Spotify listeners. Is this a banger? Is this a Dalek? Is it a hybrid? If you think it's a hybrid, you can leave a comment on the Spotify. Yes, you can do that. So go ahead and just leave that comment, and we'll include it in a future episode when we note what people thought of the Impossible Astronaut and Day of the Moon.
Yes. And perhaps in a future episode, we'll also come back to the question of, is the Doctor a drinker or not?
Oh, yeah.
It is also addressed here, where older Doctor is drinking wine before his death. He's like, oh, yeah, I must have, I'm this old. That's how he gets the 1106 age reference, right? I must have gotten into wine at some point, which of course he has. We know he has. We've been tracking this throughout the history of Paul to Open. Go direct to our podcast on Day of the Daleks. We talk about it. The meddling monk and time meddler and all of that. We talk about is the Doctor just an alcoholic who's kind of trying to avoid the fact. But here we'll add that. We'll just pause to add the evidence that he thinks that wine is going to taste like wine gums. Do you know what wine gums are?
I don't. I didn't get that.
It's a British candy. It's that they don't actually taste like wine.
Gotcha.
It's sort of like a soft candy, and you
it's like sours almost.
Yeah, a little
sour.
bit.
Yeah.
All
right.
Yeah.
Cool. He does like his sweets, that Doctor.
Definitely does. This one especially.
All right. Well, we got to replenish our sweets and as well as our stories as we run off into our time ship, if we can find it, assuming it's not cloaked.
Yes. Pausing only to not comment on each other's driving and saying, no, you're doing it perfectly. We get back into our TARDIS with the randomizer fitted. That's right. It is time to find another random destination. Where are we going from Space 1969, which is just, something that's going to draw the randomizer in? Where's it going to go next? Well, the answer to that is found through two controls. Pete's at the console of one of them. The Codex, which is the list of all of the Doctor Who stories that we still have to do. What number are we down to, Pete?
We're down to 175.
Wow. We are so close to it being the lowest it's ever been. I think. Pretty
close. I think. It might be the lowest already. I don't know. It's a good question.
We might, by the end of the year, get to the halfway point. Right? It's getting
it's
close.
Possible. I hear they're not making Doctor Who right now. So
right? Yes, please. Disney, BBC, just tie yourself in litigation for a few years while you finish this, okay? Thanks. All right, so I'm standing at the controls of the other component, random.org, the executor, where I've already plugged in the numbers 1 and 175. I'm going to truly randomly generate a number between 1 and 175 using atmospheric noise, using the number of silence that are sleeping above your head right now. Oh, don't they look cute, like little bats? Better take a picture, you'll forget it. Anyway, it bounces off the silence, it comes back and returns a random number instead of an algorithm, which is just pseudo-random, rubbish natural randomness. But before I hit that generate button, we like to say things that the randomizer will completely ignore. In the segments we like to call, "Oh please, randomizer! Oh please! Oh please! Oh please! Don't give us Dalek's master plan." Pete, what do you got this week for the randomizer?
Well, I'm tempted to ask it for more Smith because we have quite a bit of Smith still to do, and there's a big gap in the codex where we haven't done much of season 7. So I'm tempted to do that, but honestly, I think I'm going to stick with something a little more story-oriented. I mean, this was obviously a very non-linear story, as I mentioned. Well, I would say, again, I like opposites. So let's go to a story that is incredibly linear. Or as linear as it gets with Doctor Who.
Linear from scene 1 to the final shot.
Cause and effect. That's what I want.
Weird.
Right? Because it's a challenge because I don't know if that exists.
Right?
Perhaps. Maybe back in the first Doctor era.
Yeah, like Edge of Destruction is pretty linear. Kind of.
What planet might be? I don't know.
Well, okay, you're doing that. I'm realizing because of this that we have we've not done a whole lot of River. We've done 2, right?
We done Silence in the Library.
Silence in the Library, Forest of the Dead, and now Impossible Astronaut, Day of the Moon.
Is that it? Is that really all we've done?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, except for we also did Closing Time, and that has a little bit at the end where we learn that it is adult her in the astronaut.
Right.
So, so there's that. But I'm going to say more River. You could give us River with Capaldi. You can't give us River with Tennant anymore, but I guess that's a Matt Smith or a Capaldi request. But yeah, let's see what happens. Let's see if the randomizer's got a taste for River.
All right, we can do that's as non-linear as it gets, by the way. So it's definitely going to ignore me if we do that. If it follows you.
Seriously.
All right, you ready at the executor?
I'm ready.
All right, then let's do this in 4, 3, 2, 1.
Whoa, Nelly.
34.
Ooh,
I like your chances of linear.
My chances too. Oh my! It is Invasion of the Dinosaurs.
Oh my god.
Nice. This is great because honestly, this has one of the very few episodes of the classic series from a complete story that I haven't seen.
Oh.
And the reason is I've seen episodes 2 through 6 because I think it's a 6-episoder. And I never saw episode 1 because it was only available in black and white back in the day. And for some strange reason, again, this is sort of these weird decisions they make. They decided to syndicate it or sell it to PBS in the States, which I saw in Canada through the KSBS channel, only as episodes 2 through 5.
Wow.
Or sorry, 2 through 6. They just didn't have the first episode attached, even though it existed, even though there was a black and white version. It was sort of one of those incomprehensible things.
So
they figured it would make more sense to come in at the beginning of episode 2 than to have one episode in black and white.
So what you're saying is you want to make the story more linear, and finally this story can be completely linear.
In my mind. But yeah, I've never seen episode 1 of this serial, so I'm excited to finally see that.
Well, I for one cannot wait for our new dinosaur overlords. I am sure that they found a way to make those dinosaur models so convincing.
100%.
So realistic. Yeah. I'm sure that the people were fleeing from the screen as they thought a dinosaur was about to stomp them. I'm sure it was getting all Godzilla up in there.
I wonder if this is why season 11, which this is part of, is not on Blu-ray yet, because it would be that they're waiting to CGI all the dinosaurs in this episode.
I mean, yes. I was being sarcastic. In case you can't guess, listeners, that is famous for Barry Letts, the producer of Poetry, to being like, no, I hate this. This is the one I would want to remake with modern technology. So yes, we will be casting a skeptical eye over some dinosaur models. And we didn't get more Matt Smith, but we did get dinosaurs not on a spaceship. So looking forward to seeing that. Myself.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for listening. This has been Pull to Open. It's a podcast. Podcasts are great things to subscribe to or follow, but the absolute best thing you can do for a podcast, if you want to support it, is to share it with a friend. So please do that if you have a chance. Thank you, as always, Martin West, for your music. Always makes us sound a little more professional. We deeply appreciate it. And again, please go ahead, leave us a review if you can, and even a Whomoji if the spirit moves you. And we'll see you next time in the Cretaceous period, or a golden age of some kind, I believe.
Pull to Open's golden age begins. We'll see you then.